Morning.
Good morning.
I'll start letting people in. I don't know what is wrong with me, but my skin itches so bad. And I'll look like it'll be the bottoms of my hands and then it'll be my feet. And then like it's so weird. I don't know what it is. But it's annoying. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds frustrating.
Starting here in just a few minutes, so I'm gonna start letting people in.
Sounds good.
But I need to make you remind me what I do. I have to make you the host, right?
Yeah, and I can let people in for him.
Okay, let me change my name first. Okay, then you have to let me share though.
Okay, awesome. I think that did it.
Okay. Okay. You can let people in.
Awesome. Let's see. Just come on. Alrighty. Okay.
Okay, you might have to help me with keywords. And this is a 3-hour class, so
Do you want me to remind you like every hour or
yeah, maybe if I don't remember. And then if you can kind of watch the chat if I have it open, but if I forget and miss it. And I may end early because this is a 3-hour class and it just depends on how long-winded I am today.
fair enough. Yeah, that's good. Let's see.
I think we had like 50 people signed up,
Nice.
but we can start with like talking about rates and stuff while people are still coming in.
Sure.
Okay, if you guys can turn on your cameras, please turn on your cameras. That's one of the rules for CE on Zoom. I know sometimes cameras aren't working, but if they are, please turn on your camera. That's one of the things they want us to have people do. And then it's 10 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Typically on these 3-hour classes, I do one 10-minute break. And then I tack on the last two breaks at the end. I was telling Thomas, I'm like, it just depends on how long-winded I am today. Sometimes I end early on these 3-hour classes, just depends. So if you have comments, please comment. That's kind of the point of these classes is to chat a little bit. I give kind of my opinion and then I like to hear other people's opinions as well. There's not really a right answer in a class like this, so it's kind of fun to hear what people are doing. So feel free to open, turn off your mute if you don't have anything in the background and feel free, or you can put stuff in the chat too. So what's going on with rates right now? Let's chat a little bit. It's kind of big news. Everybody's following it. I have loan officers who are waiting until next week to lock loans because their clients want to wait until what is happening next week. I can't hear. Is somebody talking and I can't hear? Thomas, can you hear somebody? I feel like I hear like a really soft voice, but I don't know if it's mine.
I can't hear anybody. I'm just gonna say
Okay, I don't know
okay.
what's going on now. Okay. Anybody want to feel? Feel free to unmute. Tell me what's going on with rates next week. What are we waiting for?
To go
Oh,
down.
sorry, who said that?
To go down. Me.
Yeah, okay. Hi, how do you say your first name?
Thais.
Tice. Okay, to go down. Why? What meeting do we have next week?
Is the Feds? I don't know how
Yeah,
it's called the meeting, but yeah.
yeah, it's the Fed meeting. Good. So the Feds meet and decide, are we gonna lower the federal lending rate, which is what it is, right? So it's different than the mortgage rate, but right now we're pricing in one Fed drop this year. But if next week they start talking about more drops, then we might be able to see rates go a little bit lower. I have seen after Fed meetings rates go up, even when they say that the rates are going down. So nobody really knows what's going to happen next week, but there's a lot of speculation that we might see rates go down again. Bruce, did you have something to add?
Uh, all I know is when it comes to the Federal Reserve rate, it's a discount rate that they're lowering. That's what they charge the member banks to borrow, and it
Right,
doesn't always have a direct influence with regards to mortgage rates, but it does help.
right. So bonds, we watch bonds a lot with mortgage rates and how those are selling and buying. But yeah, I guess my point is we want rates to go down. We've been wanting rates to go down for a long time. There have been lots of like super guru people who've said they were going to go down and then they didn't, right? So nobody really knows what's going to happen. And it's good to know a little bit about what's going on with rates so you can talk to your clients about, they're probably hearing the Fed, when the Feds drop it, some people think, okay, then mortgage rates go down and they don't always. So it's just good to have that in your mind. Follow somebody who talks about rates every day and kind of know what's going on in the market. What do you guys think is going to happen if rates go down into the fives? We don't really know, but what do you think is going to happen?
Prices are going up, competition,
Okay.
demand.
Okay. So we might see more people coming into the market, and that's probably going to drive the prices up a little bit. That's the speculation. I'm hoping to see, rates in the fives. That would be really nice, right, for conventional. And even if it's 5.99, that's going to stir up some people that might jump into the market. Okay, let's go over our way to get credit because that's what you guys really want. Oh, the other thing I wanted to make sure you guys knew, this was advertised incorrectly. So it's not 3 hours of core. It's 3 hours elective. So if you're planning on core and you need core and you don't need elective, feel free to drop off. I won't be offended. I'm sorry that that was advertised incorrectly. But this is an elective class for 3 hours. Okay, so you can scan the QR code and it will pull up a Google Doc that you can fill out along the way as we go through this class. You can click on the link that Thomas will put in the chat right now, and that will pull up the Google Doc, or you can send me an email. Those are the three ways to get credit. I'll give 5 keywords throughout the class, and you'll have to send 4 to me. So most of the time I leave the 4th and 5th word till the very end, so don't stress about that. But and then 1 hour in, we usually take a 10-minute break so that you can answer your phone calls, and then we'll go ahead and finish up. Okay, I'll put this up again too, so if you don't get a chance to do that right now, you can just write down your words and then we'll put this up again too. Okay, so today we're talking about how to achieve maximum success as a real estate agent. This, we're going to talk about a lot of real estate agent things, but success in life has lots of different definitions, right? So success for one person, what they define as success might be different than what somebody else defines as success. And so keep that in mind when I'm going through this. We're talking about making, up to 250,000 a year is the definition of success that we're talking about right now. But your goals may be higher, lower than that, and that's fine. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with it. Success is very personal. And so, for example, when I was younger, success for me was being able to stay home with my kids. Now I sacrificed money, right? Like we didn't have as much money as if I would have gone to work, but that was what I wanted to do. So in my mind, that was success. So again, success is going to be different for everybody and different during different times of your life. So keep that in mind when we're talking today. I'm going to talk a lot about mental toughness. I feel like we get in our own way most of the time. So the things that are hard for us, the things that we make hard for us, are oftentimes things that we create for ourselves. Now, there are certainly, and we will talk about this, hard things that happen that are out of your control that somebody else does to you, or, those kinds of things, and those are real. And I'm not trying to discount any of those, but no one is born mentally tough. It comes from experience, grit, and hard work. So if you look at somebody and you think that they're mentally tough and they've got it all together, they've put in some pretty hard work for that. For example, and we use a lot of examples about like physical health and, like bodybuilders or things like that, because it's really easy to see. If you see somebody who is like totally in shape and you look, "Oh, that's so unfair." Okay, but what have they done to do that, right? They've put in that effort, and it wasn't the first couple weeks, you don't even notice anything. If you guys have ever tried to start working out, you don't notice anything the first few weeks, right? You can't even see any difference. And so it's easy to look at somebody else who's put in the effort and be jealous of them or think that's not fair or whatever, but really to get anywhere and to most of the time. And there's a little bit, you'll have the outlier that will argue with me a little bit and say, well, there's some genetic components, and that's true. But for the most part, anything that we achieve is because we've become mentally strong and decided to achieve it. I have a really cool quote. I think I've read it in one of my other classes, but it's talking about becoming elite. And it's in a book that I really like, and it's the 12-week year. But he says the athlete achieves greatness months, perhaps years earlier than when she decides to run the extra mile, swim the extra laps, and to perform just one more jump. I would argue that Michael Phelps didn't achieve greatness when he won his 18th gold medal, but when he chose to do the things that would make him great, right? So you will be great when you choose to do the things that will get you to where you want to be. And the gold medal wins were simply the evidence of his greatness when he chose to do all the things that would get him there. So when you're thinking about making a leap or doing something that's hard, remember it's going to take a lot of work and it's going to take a lot of effort, and you have to keep going and never quit. I'm going to do some videos. In fact, I want to do this one first before we totally get started. Let me see if I can get it to work. Give me just a second. If you can't hear it, let me know, because I won't be able to see you guys once I start it. So I have to stop sharing.
Conga CLM is an end-to-end contract lifecycle management solution.
Skip this. Okay, just a second. Okay, now let me share again. Oh, just a second. Be patient. Okay, again, I won't be able to see you while we're watching the video, so tell me if you can't hear it, but you should be able to. Oh, wow. This is not what we want to watch. Haha. Let me try again. Takes me a minute. Okay. Sorry, you guys. Thinking, it's thinking.
The wisest person I ever met in my life, a third grade dropout. Wisest and dropout in the same sentence is rather oxymoronic, like jumbo shrimp. Like Fun Run. Ain't nothing fun about it. Like Microsoft Works. Y'all don't hear me. I used to say like country music, but I've lived in Texas so long, I love country music now. I hunt, I fish, I have cowboy boots and cowboy. Y'all, I'm a black neck redneck. Do you hear what I'm saying to you? No longer oxymoronic for me to say country music. And it's not oxymoronic for me to say third grade and dropout. That third grade dropout, the wisest person I ever met in my life, who taught me to combine knowledge and wisdom to make an impact, was my father. A simple cook. Wisest man I ever met in my life. Just a simple cook. Left school in the third grade to help out on the family farm, but just because he left school doesn't mean his education stopped. Mark Twain once said, "I've never allowed my schooling to get in the way of my education." My father taught himself how to read, taught himself how to write, decided in the midst of Jim Crowism, as America was breathing the last gasp of the Civil War, my father decided he was going to stand and be a man. Not a black man, not a brown man, not a white man, but a man. He literally challenged himself to be the best that he could all the days of his life. I have 4 degrees. My brother is a judge. We're not the smartest ones in our family. It's a third grade dropout daddy. A third grade dropout daddy who was quoting Michelangelo, saying to us, "Boys, I won't have a problem if you aim high and miss, but I'm going to have a real issue if you aim low and hit." A country mother quoting Henry Ford, saying, "If you think you can or if you think you can't, you're right." I learned that from a third grade drop. Simple lessons. Lessons like these. Son, you'd rather be an hour early than a minute late. We never knew what time it was at my house because the clocks were always ahead. My mother said for nearly 30 years my father left the house at 3:45 in the morning. One day she asked him, "Why, Daddy?" He said, "Maybe one of my boys will catch me in the act of excellence. I want to share 2 things with you." Aristotle said, "You are what you repeatedly do." Therefore, excellence ought to be a habit, not an act. Don't ever forget that. I know you're tough, but always remember to be kind. Always. Don't ever forget that. Never embarrass mama. Yeah. If mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. If daddy ain't happy, don't nobody care. But you know, I'm trying to tell you. Next lesson. Lesson from a cook over there in the galley. Son, make sure your servant's towel is bigger than your ego. Ego is the anesthesia that deadens the pain of stupidity. Y'all might have a relative in mind you want to send that to. Let me say it again. Ego is the anesthesia that deadens the pain of stupidity. Pride is the burden of a foolish person. John Wooden coached basketball at UCLA for a living, but his calling was to impact people. And with all those national championships, guess what he was found doing in the middle of the week? Going into the cupboard, grabbing a broom, and sweeping his own gym floor. You want to make an impact? Find your broom. Every day of your life, you find your broom. You grow your influence that way. That way you're attracting people so that you can impact them. Final lesson. Son, if you're going to do a job, do it right.
Okay, what did you write down? Who wrote down a quote?
I really like the "if you think you can or you think you can't, you can."
You're right, right? Whatever you think, you're right. Good. I like that one too. Anybody else write down a quote?
I wrote down the aim high and miss or aim low and hit.
Like that one too. Good. And we're going to talk about goals today, and we should have goals that are really high, right? And we might not hit quite that high sometimes, but if your goals are, I think it's Muhammad Ali that says if you hit your goals all the time, they're not high enough or something like that. Okay? Anybody else? Okay, I really like that one. I wrote down excellence is a habit, not an act. talks about being kind no matter what. And then I really liked how he said ego is the anesthesia that deadens the pain of stupidity. So one time, I think it's really interesting to watch how people handle success, and people handle it differently for sure. But I remember one time calling an agent. I don't always I'm not like a chaser of whales. I'm sure you guys have heard like some people are chasing whales, meaning agents who have lots of deals trying to get them to send all their deals as loan officers. Not really that kind of person, but I remember calling one person one time and she said to me, she answered her phone, but then she said, when I was talking to her about, hey, I'd love to meet with you, kind of tell you about what I'm doing. And she said, I am a high producing agent and I do not have time to talk to you. Okay. I wasn't really offended. I was just like, remember thinking, if I become a high producing loan officer, let's say, I hope I still have time to talk to people because we are in the business of what? Relationships, connections, super important, right? So in my mind, I was like, oh, if you don't have time to talk, maybe don't answer your phone. That's okay, right? But probably in her mind, she was thinking, oh, it might be a client, and I have time to talk to clients, but I don't have time to talk to salespeople, which I totally get. So anyway, think about, if you are successful or, and remember success is like very individual, but if you are feeling like I'm super successful, I'm a super high producing agent, I'm already achieved this, just try to think about what kind of person you still want to be and how you're handling your success. I think it's important. And, as I watch lots of stuff on social media that my kids are watching, it's fascinating to watch what kind of stuff people put out there and how they portray themselves. Um, anyway, super interesting. Okay, I liked that. So be careful with your ego. Sometimes that can hinder your success as well. Okay, let me see. I've got to uncheck this so I can see you guys. Okay, so if we have time, maybe we'll come back and watch this mental toughness, but the idea being control, commitment, challenge, confidence, obstacles always come in your way that we need to overcome. We all have stuff. Okay, so if you have somebody who seems like they don't have stuff, they have stuff. And it's not always fair. Some people have more stuff than other people. It's just the way of this world, but we all have stuff. Everyone has talent and ability. What it comes down to is mental toughness. Okay. If you become mentally strong, you will win. If you don't become mentally strong, you will envy those that are. Okay. I have lots of quotes today, but we're going to talk about mindset and we're going to kind of break these down now. Again, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to interject anytime. Mindset, we're going to talk about goals and clarity, systems and executions. So what business are you in? As a real estate agent, what business are you in? You can put it in the chat, you can unmute and yell it out, but what business are you in? I know it's Friday. Everybody's tired. TGIF, right? But you guys are going into your busy time. Your busy time is the weekend and the evenings. Okay, let's see. Helping people, good, Tammy. Katie says the people business. Helping others, Doug says people. Okay, so you're in the business of helping people, and what's your most important thing? What do you have to be able to do to be successful as a real estate agent? Generate what? Make a connection, build trust. Good, Rachel. Marketing, good, John. Communicate. Okay, you have to be able to generate leads. If you can't generate leads, you won't have anybody to help, right? And so part of like communication, building trust, that's all going to be part of how you can be able to generate successful leads and close deals. Okay, good. Okay, this is a bonus tip. Work at the level where you want to be, not where you currently are. So if you currently have 1 deal a month, work at the level that somebody who has 10 deals a month is working at. Try to find those people and watch what they're doing and see how they're functioning, right? Because if that's where you want to be, start working at that level and then you'll get there. Okay. What are the top 3 things that feel significant to you today? Write them down and we'll have an opportunity to share those at the end. So focus on 3 takeaways. You're going to hear a lot of different things. Some of it's going to resonate with you, some of it may not, but it's hard to have, if you have too many goals, you won't get any of them done, right? And so typically I say focus on 1 to 3 things that you can actually take away and make a change. So keep that in mind as we're going through this and write down 3 takeaways, and then we'll share them at the end. What challenges are you facing right now as a real estate agent? What challenges are you facing right now as a real estate agent? No challenges out there? Everything's just peachy keen, no challenges? Rates? Okay, Doug says rates. Good. And if you've been in the business very long, you know rates are really actually pretty good. They're not super horrible, but it feels like they are because we've just come out of a time when they were really low. And most of the people who already have houses around the people who are trying to buy houses have really low rates. And so that's hard for people. Okay, good. Rates. What else? What are some other struggles right now? Correct information in buyer's hands? Good. How many of you have had somebody who's come to you, wanted to buy a house, you figured everything out, got them pre-approved, and they go talk to their aunt or their mom or their sister, and they decide they're gonna wait? I would guess most of you have had that happen, okay? Think back to if you own a house, think back to the first time you bought your house, the first house you bought. Were you scared you were gonna be able to make the payment? Were you worried you were gonna be able to do it? Most people were, okay? And so the majority of people, no matter when they bought, no matter how much their house was, we just closed on a house for the parents had lived in the house for 30 something years. They were selling it to their son who, you know, was buying it for $550,000. The parents had bought it for $50,000. And now they were selling it for $550,000. And the mom remembered when they bought it for $50,000, feeling like she wasn't going to be able to make the payment and she was never going to be able to pay it off. And that's how these people are feeling now, right? With the much higher payment, much higher loan amount, feeling like I'm never going to pay this off. Are we going to be able to make this payment? So no matter when you bought, no matter how much the prices are, people feel that same way when they go into the real estate market for the most part. And that's something you can share with your buyers. Okay, anything else? No other challenges? Or you're just not focusing on the challenges because you know how to have a good mindset? How about there's no business out there? Finding leads, good, Ashley. So same idea, right? You'll hear people both in the lending world and in the real estate world saying there's just no buyers. It's a terrible time. I can't do it. And they're leaving, right? So what's the difference between those people who are actually closing deals right now? Right? So the last 3 or 4 months have been some of my busiest over the last year. There are people buying. There are people out there who need real estate agents. We just have to find them. So good, Ashley. We have to find those people. And are you going to get told no sometimes? Yes. Do you need to know how to get back up when you feel like you've had a day where you've been punched in the face? Yes. Okay, we're going to talk about some of that. Okay, so let's talk about some stats. I think this might be a little outdated, but it kind of still gets the job done. So currently, does anybody know how many active MLS dues every month? 18 to 19, is that still fairly accurate or no? Does anybody follow those numbers? In Utah, I'm guessing we're still close to that. I know there's a lot of people who've dropped out. Maybe we're in the 17,000s. I don't know if anybody knows, but I didn't take the time to look it up this morning. But there's how many homes on average are selling each month? How many homes sold in Utah last month? Does anybody know that number? I don't have access to the MLS, so sometimes I don't always know it, but. Anybody know that number? Can somebody look it up? How long does it take to look that up on the MLS? How many homes sold in Utah in August? How hard is that to look up? Can we Google it? Let me see. How many? Oh, wait, somebody just put it in. Thanks, John. September 12th, 2025, total MLS actives listing. So, okay, this is listings, right? So 13,621, or is that total act? John, help me. John, can you unmute and help me? Sorry, you're muted.
Sorry, I have two screens. I have my phone and another screen. Sorry, I unmuted the wrong one.
That's okay. Tell me, okay, so tell us what this means. I mean, I don't go on the MLS very often.
Oh, yeah, this is just the stats for Utah, or so total in Utah.
Okay.
Total MLS is 13,621. Just in Utah County, 3,100. Under contract, 1,278. And then I just do these stats once a month.
Okay.
So I just had them handy. Solds last 30 days were 850. You know, the inventory and the medians, you have all that. That's
Yeah.
stuff I use.
Okay. Okay, so when you say total MLS actives, that's total listings?
Total listings, yes. How
Okay.
many are active? That's total active listings. Yep.
Okay, got you. Okay.
And then
Okay.
I only do under contracts for Utah County. So that's just Utah County actives and Utah County under contracts.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Okay. So this is, I mean, this gives us the same idea as that does. I know it's not exactly accurate, but kind of the same idea. So what does this mean if we have all these real estate agents, we have a lot less homes sold each month? What does that mean for you? One, you have a lot of competition, right? But you always do. But two, a very small portion of real estate of the total real estate agents are doing the deals, right? So it's a pretty small portion, but let's look at the next slide. How many, let's say that this slide shows the number of listings, buyers, and seller sides each month. How many deals a month do you need to make to make 250,000 if that's your goal? I mean, that looks possible when you look at it this way, right? So I need a few of these, of all the deals that are out there to be able to make my goals, okay? But there are a lot of agents, and a lot of times you'll see in most markets, whether it's real estate or other things, there's a 20%, 80-20 rule, right? 20% of the people are doing 80% of the work. And so, you know, we see that in a lot of different areas. But how will you stand out? If there's lots of different agents, just think about for a minute, how are you going to stand out? Write down two things. How am I going to stand out? If there's lots of different agents, if you're new, if you're seasoned, doesn't matter. How are you going to stand out? How will you convince your buyers to buy right now when a lot of other people are saying this isn't a good time? Wait, the market's gonna, you know, this is a bubble. It's gonna burst at some point. Okay, how will you stand out? Now that I'm not really answering that because I think there's lots of different ways. But if you guys have something that you think would help other people, go ahead and say it. I think that it's very personal how you will stand out. How do you feel comfortable? How you feel genuine, right? When you're gonna try to stand out. Was somebody gonna comment? Okay. Okay, so I wanted to just tell you a little bit about my story. Everybody has a story, like I've said, everybody has hard things in their lives. But about 6 years ago, I got divorced and had to start my whole life over again. And I'd been a stay-at-home mom for a lot of years. I have an accounting degree from BYU, but I hadn't used it very much. I had 3 little part-time jobs, and I didn't have it. I walked away with a house, an old, smaller house, and my dad had to co-sign or I would have lost it. So totally starting over. what are my choices? Do I have choices? Maybe, right? But I hadn't been in the workforce very much and I didn't look great on paper. But I started working as a loan manager and then became a loan officer. Could I have just decided this sucks, life sucks, this isn't fair? I made horrible choices and now I'm stuck with it. I could have just decided to do the bare minimum, but I didn't really have much of a choice because either I was going to be poor forever or I had to do something that was going to make some money pretty fast because I didn't have very many working years left. I still don't. So, the only reason why I tell you this is because everybody has stuff, right? So make a decision no matter what your situation is, no matter what your story is, no matter what things you're going through, that you are going to be successful and that you are going to do it. And have that be your mantra. Put it on your mirror, put it on a card in your pocket, read it every day. And you'll be focused on that and focused on the good things that are coming and be able to make the decisions that will get you where you want to be. Now, I'm not totally where I want to be yet. I've been doing this for 6 years now, but I was able to build a new house and a place where all my kids could stay with me, and been able to take my kids on a few vacations that we'd never been able to do before. So a few things that I feel like are successful and that are helping me feel like, okay, I'm making a difference and I'm not just going to be forever sad for the rest of my life because hard things came. Okay, I'm going to skip this. It's kind of a fun thing, but this is usually when we do this class in person. The idea of the rope trick is thinking outside the box. So it looks like it should be easy. And once you know how it works, it is easy. But you have to kind of know how things work and know what you're going to do first. So, okay, understand the 4 steps of succeeding at anything. Okay, so this can go for anything, right? Whatever, if you already are exactly where you want to be in real estate, that's great. You may have some other area and this will work for any of the areas. So you need a skill set. When you first started in real estate, go back to when you first started. Some of you newer agents, if you're just starting, think about what skill set do you need? When you took your test, did you know everything that you needed to know to be a successful real estate agent? No, it was basically how to stay out of jail, right? And how to not be dishonest. But and then you have your license and you're like, okay, what now, right? And some of you who've been in the business a long time, think back about what you did, right? You probably had to find somebody who'd done it before. We don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? There's ways to be successful. There's things that work, and we don't have to find something totally different. It's totally okay to go find somebody who's been successful and do exactly what they're doing and become successful too, right? So there isn't like another new way that nobody's thought about that you're going to have success that's going to be immediate. You see a lot of new agents who come in thinking it's easy to sell houses. They make so much money and they don't really do, and you'll hear people kind of talk about it that way, and those people leave pretty quickly when they realize, oh, it is hard work and you do have to know things, and this is a big deal. You're working with people's savings, life savings. Okay, mindsets and goals. You have to have the skill set. So what are you doing? Think about, write down, what are you doing right now to get more skills, to get your increase and improve your skill set? We usually say spend 30 minutes a day improving your skills. There's lots of places online you could read. You can go to classes like this. You can read books to improve your social skills or communication skills. There's lots of ways, but you should be always improving and working on that. Okay, then we're going to talk about mindset and goals, systems. So you can have a goal, but if you don't have a system to work to that goal, then it's going to be hard to make it there. Discipline to consistently do what is required daily. There are things I know I need to do. Do I have the discipline to do them? There are things I know I should not do. Do I have the discipline not to do them? So that, I feel like, is one of the most important things, right? Because what separates somebody who's top tier and super successful from somebody who isn't, we all have the same amount of hours in the day. We all have, things with family and things with personal things that get in the way. We all have that, but The people who consistently keep doing things, consistency is one of the most important things and one of the hardest things to do because it's really hard to see the results. Like let's say we have two real estate agents who are both working hard and one takes one day off in a week. Can we see any difference initially? No, oh, it's okay. I just won't do my calls today, right? And we don't really see a difference until maybe 3 to 6 months later. The person who did their calls consistently is going to have more business 3 to 6 months later than the person who every once in a while was doing their calls. So you don't really see the effects of things until later. It's like, oh, I'm going to have that extra ice cream every single night. Well, for the first little while, you don't see the difference until, oh my gosh, I'm way over here and I don't know how I got there. Okay. It's like an airplane. If I'm driving an airplane and I have two airplanes and I shift one even just a degree, eventually I'm going to end up at a totally different place and I only shifted just a degree. I didn't change that much, right? Okay, so that is one of the hard things is to consistently do the things that nobody else wants to do. And I really feel like that's the difference between the successful and the unsuccessful, or one of the differences. Okay, let's talk about get a coach. If you're a seasoned agent, you don't have a coach anymore, think about, did you have a coach when you started? Did you have somebody that you watched? Did you have somebody that you could report to? Did you have somebody who kind of explained the business and how it worked? Oftentimes that's a broker, but sometimes people can't get a hold of their broker and they team up with somebody, a friend or somebody that gets them into the business and helps them and coaches them and teaches them, because you really need somebody who's done it before to be able to help you. Self-promotion. Is this an easy thing to do? Who's good at self-promotion? I hope you guys are. Don't be shy, okay? I'm assuming most of you are good at self-promotion, or else you're going to end up leaving this industry, because that's what you are selling is yourself, right? And your ability to help somebody. So it doesn't, for most people, it doesn't come naturally to self-promote. There are a few people that it does, but for most people, it's something that you have to work at. And it comes down to self-promotion and consistency. Can you get your name out there and keep it in front of people in a way that they want to use you? Think of a farmer. If the farmer does not prepare the soil, plant the seeds, water the seeds and plants, protect the plants and harvest, he misses any step, they won't harvest. So you have all these different steps, right? And if you miss one, then you're not going to have the leads that you want and need. We're going to talk about FRC ×3, law of sufficiency and consistency, goals and clarity mindset systems. You should have a database of 500 households. That should be your goal. And think about right now, each of you in your mind, and how's your database look? What's going on with your database? Are you keeping it up? Are you sending things out to people? Are you keeping in front of those people? Do you have a farm of at least 200 households? Is every listing in that farm yours? Professionals, at least 24. Pick no more than 3 from the following areas. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more. And then habits. Daily power hour. How often are you looking for leads? Every day you should have time set aside. If you have no deals right now, you should have 3 or 4 hours set aside for prospecting. If you have lots of deals, maybe it's an hour. But every day you should be prospecting, because what happens if you get busy and you stop marketing and you stop prospecting? I've heard this before from agents. I'm too busy. I just got too busy. I've got 6 or 7 deals going on right now. I do not have time to market. What's the problem with thinking that way? Once those deals close, what's your pipeline look like? Right? And ideally, your pipeline stays pretty consistent. That's what we're all searching for and hoping for, right? We don't want this up and down pipeline. That's hard, and it's part of the hard thing about this business. You're never done. Oh, you did 6 deals last month? Okay, well, you got to do 6 more this month, right? Or you did 1 deal last month? Okay, you're never done, right? So don't let that get you down. It can be kind of hard, but just remember, You always need to be prospecting you so that you have more consistent income. Okay, sharpen the saw. We talked about this. You need to be perceived as an expert. You always need to be learning. And even seasoned agents who've been in the business for 20 or 30 years, you'll have a deal where you haven't seen something like that before and you got to figure it out and you got to research it. So you can always learn. Lose the stories. We don't need any excuses, right? So if you make sure you're surrounding yourself with people who don't have excuses, who aren't always having an excuse. The rates are too high. There's nobody buying. There's too many agents, right? We can always find excuses. So we want to lose those excuses and stories and take control of our life and our success. Massive action. Again, we hear people come into the business who say this is so easy. Why did they get paid so much? This is not easy. This is hard work. And if you're doing deals, you know it's hard work and that you spend a lot of time helping people. And so massive action is the only way that you're going to be successful. And then we're going to talk a little bit about analyze, tweak, and improve. You're always going to have to improve and shift, right? Right now, this market is different than it was during COVID, right? There's lots of differences. You have to know how the market is shifting and changing. You have to be able to adapt and change the way you're working a little bit all the time. And then don't quit. Okay, we're going to dive into these. Let's give our first word. Okay, first word is don't quit. Okay, 2 words. I love it when I do that. I make it more than 1 word, but first word, don't quit. So remember, 5 words throughout the class. You need to give me 4 for credit. First word, don't quit. Okay, what do Tom Brady, Michael Jordan, and Tiger Woods all have in common? There's not really a right answer, but sort of. What have you ever heard the quote that Michael Jordan said, I had to miss, I can't remember, 10,000 balls to learn how to make a shot, to be consistent, or I was trusted to make the final shot and missed how many ever times, right? The idea being that these guys haven't quit, they continually learn, to be the top, they failed a ton of times, right? And I think Michael Jordan's like, I failed over and over, and that's why I win. So the idea being, like, we look at these guys, oh my gosh, they're so amazing. I can never be like them. And not everybody gets to be in the spotlight like they do. But what we can learn from them is that they consistently are learning, tweaking, improving, and they don't give up. And so there's a story about Michael Jordan's coach. I can't remember exactly kind of how, I think he was more like a coach to help him improve, not like his basketball coach. Correct me if I'm wrong, sorry if I'm lying, but the idea being that he came and he wanted to help these Bulls players improve. And he had a flyer and he was trying to get them to work with him. And he had given one to everybody except Michael Jordan. Because what does he need? He doesn't need help, right? And Michael Jordan was the only one that called him back. And he found the flyer on the floor. One of the other players had just dropped it on the floor. And they ended up having a good career together and working together, right? So Michael Jordan, at the top of his career, still looking for ways to improve. And I love that about him. Okay. What's the best thing about being a real estate agent and what's the worst thing about being a real estate agent? No correct answers. For you guys, what's the best thing about being a real estate agent? Oh, and I gotta watch the chat here. Helping people, good. Let me make this bigger so I can see it better. The people, Jennifer, helping people, Tammy says. Okay. No income limits. Good, I love that. Yeah, I mean, same with loan officers, right? It's very similar and parallel in a lot of ways, right? Like the harder you work, the more money you make. I love that, right? Okay. In this case, what I'm trying to talk about or get to is the lack of accountability. So that's one of the best things about, and I have the same thing, right? I don't have somebody in my ear saying you have to be here at a certain time, you have to do this at a certain time. Nobody's micromanaging me. And I love that so much because when I first became a single mom, there's a lot of things I had to do, and it would have been really hard to have a 9 to 5 job that I could never leave. That would have been really hard for me. So, this flexibility of our job is very enticing to a lot of people, but it's also one of the really hard things about our job. This is very flexible, right? I don't have to get up and do something in the morning. I don't have to go into work. I don't have to make my calls, right? There's nobody but me who wants that to happen, right? Now you have people who encourage you, and your broker wants you to make money, of course, and all the things, but for the most part, it's not like a normal 9 to 5 job where somebody's saying you have to be in here and you have to clock in at this time. And it's the good and the bad about this job. And so you'll hear some people say, like, you have to be in charge of when you're going to do all the things, and make sure that you have some way of being accountable to yourself so that you can be successful. Okay, any comments on that? How many people are in this industry because of the flexibility? Because the no income limits, right? Me, right? So make sure that that you have a system that will keep you on track to get to where you want. Okay, employ a coach or accountability partner. Raise your hand if you've ever had one.
Okay, Google. How do you spell quit?
How many of you have ever had one? Okay. John says he has one now. John, unmute yourself and tell us about that, please.
Yeah. What do you want to know?
Well, so how long have you been in the business?
About 29 years.
Okay, so a long time, and you have one now. And what does this person do for you? And kind of in a nutshell, have you had them for a long time, or did you just decide to get?
I've had them for a little over a year and about 2 months.
Okay.
It's a really expensive one.
Oh, okay.
It's one that, is really, yeah, it's pretty intense. Like it's something that I'm implementing like 15 years of her systems and funnels and
Wow.
branding and AI and just trying to keep on top of what's happening right now. Like she was one of the top percent in the world.
Oh, awesome.
So,
Okay.
you got to learn from the best of the best. I was one of those guys that did 100% referral. I just only did my sphere for 20 years and
Okay.
realized that, that you got to do a lot more. You've got to be a lot more if you want to be something bigger. So
Good, good. And so instead of being like, okay, I can't do this and I don't know what to do, say, okay, somebody's done this before me and let's see what they've done.
oh
Okay.
yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, John. Okay, so now John may be in a position to hire a really expensive one, and if you're brand new and you're not in that position, that doesn't mean you can't go find a coach that works for you right now. There's lots of people who want to mentor people and help them. And it could be as simple as having a friend say, hey, after I'm done making my calls for the day, can I text you? And just, will you text me when you're done with your calls? Accountability partner, right? So it could be as simple as that, or it could be like John, where he's like going all out and to a whole new level. And we're not all at the same place. So there's not like this perfect way to learn this. And if it's working, keep doing it. If it's not, tweak and edit and change and shift, right? Magic happens when you come up with your goals, when you come up with your why. Everybody write down your why real quick. Why are you in this business? Why do you do what you do? Is your why strong enough that if you get hit hard, you'll be able to get back up? That's what you need. A reason why you are in this business, a reason to keep going even when things get hard. Because will they get hard? Tammy, has it ever been hard for you? How long have you been in the business?
Since 2016.
Okay, has it ever been hard?
Yes.
Okay. And so you have a why that keeps you going so that you don't quit.
I
Now, I'm
do.
not going to make you share your why. Sometimes whys are very, very sensitive. Like I usually cry if I talk about my why, so I don't always want to talk about my why, right? But we want them to be so strong that there's nothing that's going to keep you from doing what you need to do. Okay. Decide what systems you will employ, what habits you need to develop. So John is having this coach who's telling him, this is what I did. This is what I did with AI. This is what I'm doing with this. This is what I'm doing with marketing, right? And you're implementing all those things and she's helping you do that. And then again, set a time to grow each day. What are you doing right now? Take a mental inventory. What are you doing right now to grow and improve? Okay. Your coach, accountability partner is there to help you walk through your decisions, right? I don't know how John's is working with him, but like sometimes you have somebody that you can bounce things off of. What if I try to do this? Well, people have tried to do that. It's not really worked, or yes, but if you do it this way, it will probably be more successful. Or how do you do your open houses? What's been the most successful thing with open houses, right? People have done this all before. And so finding someone who's been successful to the level that you want to be successful can be really helpful. Be someone you can report back to. Again, accountability partner. That's one of the hardest things about this business is that you're not accountable to anybody. Helps you find blind spots. Do we all have blind spots? We all have things we can't see about ourselves, right? Things that we're doing that are hurting ourselves, or things that we're doing that are limiting ourselves. And somebody from the outside can look at that, and if you're willing to be able to take some constructive criticism, you can improve by having somebody show you some of your blind spots. There are certainly things that we don't know we're doing that are making things harder for ourselves. Provides a set time to check back in, which is proven to help keep you on track. If you check back in and so what are some things you could check on? How many calls you're doing a day, right? And you could keep track of that. If you keep track of that for 30 days and you find that you have 3 or 4 deals going on after you've made 30, an hour to 2 marketing, and now you have more deals, then you can correlate what's working, what's not working. So keeping track of what you're doing can really help make you be able to see what's working and what's not, and how you can tweak and improve. Okay, we talked about you're in the business of lead generation and self-promotion. I talked about this a little bit. Self-promotion comes naturally to only about 10% of the population. Okay, the rest of us, we have to work at it. So I remember when I very first started and I sat down to a lunch with an agent and I thought I was going to have a panic attack, right? I hadn't done that, right? Like my toes were curled in my shoes, my fingernails were in my palms. Like I was kind of shaking. I wasn't sure what questions they were going to ask me, right? So I could have decided to quit then. This is too hard. This is uncomfortable. I don't like this. I'm not good at this, right? Like we can self-sabotage pretty easily if we want to. But if we lean into the pain, we can have the pain of learning to be better at something, or we can have the pain of not doing what we want to do, right? There's 2 different pains, and I have a slide on that. Okay, success. Frequency times reach times credibility, connection, and confidence. You can write that down if you want. Frequency times reach times credibility, connection, and confidence, okay? This is a success formula, right? Now, let's talk about frequency. How often do you reach out to people? There's lots of people. Everybody has a different opinion. How much is too much? How much is just enough so that they remember you, but they're not annoyed by you? How often is so much that they take you off your list, right? Like, so frequency is something that's very debatable, but your frequency needs to be so that when they think of somebody when they need to buy or sell, or when they hear of somebody who needs to buy or sell, they think of you first. Your reach. How many people are in your database? Think real quick. Do you know how many people are in your database? The bigger your reach, the more chance the bigger your pool is, right? Of people who are needing to buy and sell. And every person you put in your database adds about 100 people that they know that are now part of your database, right? So your reach needs to be pretty wide. And typically, like I've heard, I think it was one of the Keller Williams guys in one of his books said your success is going to be directly related to the size and quality of your database. Okay. And credibility, the 3 C's, we used to only have one, but I think we used to put connection there, but we've also added credibility and confidence. So your confidence needs to be high. You need to know what you know. And if you don't feel confident, fake it till you make it. Okay. You have lots of people who you can call and ask for advice. If you don't know an answer to a question, you can tell them, I will call you right back. I will find that out for you. That's a great question, and I'll get back to you. And the more you do that and are confident about finding an answer, the more you look for answers, the more you're going to know. And I don't ever expect a professional to always know the answer right off the top of their head, but if they find out for me, it's really helpful. Okay, law of sufficiency and consistency. I feel like the law of abundance, I don't know if any of you have read the book, The Let Them Theory, but there's plenty of success to go around. It's my favorite thing right now. I actually just got a tattoo that says let them and let me. But and I've also found that some people hate that book, which is so fascinating to me. So it depends on your time if it speaks to you, right? So if you hate that book, that's fine. But the idea is that somebody else's success doesn't take away from your success. And so if you see somebody who's more successful than you or is as successful as you want to be, that doesn't mean you can't be. It just means that you want to be more like them and that maybe they're doing something that you knew you should have been doing to be successful. And so it's kind of biting at you. But I like the idea of helping each other and being kind to each other, and your success doesn't take away from my success. We can all be successful together. Okay, so this story, two people at the gym, they go to the gym every morning. They're both there every morning. They're both doing the exercises every morning. One of them is improving and one of them's not. What's the difference? There's not really a right answer, right? Because it could be a number of things. But if somebody's following the path and they're doing all of the things they're supposed to be doing, they're going to end up at, losing weight or getting stronger or whatever it is. If you have somebody else who's coming to the gym all the time, but they're doing some of the exercises, they're showing up, they're there, they're talking, but at home they're not eating right. They're going to end up being there all the time and doing it, but not really, getting the benefits from it because they're not following it exactly. And so one step that you take out of this, whatever your systems are that are getting you to the thing, if you're not following all of them, you may not end up where you want to be. And so figuring that out is super helpful. And we've all seen people who seem to work out all the time and they still aren't getting the results they want, right? So that can happen too. If you don't know where you're headed, how will you know when you get there? Okay, so think about what your goal is. Where do you want to be? If you don't know, you're not going to be able to get there, right? And so all your work is maybe getting you some success, but you need to know where you want to end up so that you can know when you get there. Okay, so clarity. Define your goals. Does anybody have their goals written down anywhere? So I have a couple written down on my mirror in my bathroom. And you can change them anytime, right? But try to have them written down where you see them. The more you see them, the more you will be able to make those goals happen. The more goals you have, the less likely you are to achieve them. So really figure out your number one, most important thing, perhaps only have one or two additional top goals. You don't want to have too many so where you're not being able to achieve anything. But what are your goals? Think about in your mind, give yourself a couple minutes. What are your goals? If you want to share, unmute and tell us what your goals are. If you don't want to share, that's fine. So my goal right now is to do 10 deals a month. That's my goal. Okay. Now, if I just have a goal, but I don't have the systems to get to that goal, then I'm not going to be able to make it, right? So But if I say, okay, well, I want to meet with some more real estate agents, I want to offer them some benefits, I want to make sure that they know what I do, I want to get in front of people, I want to connect with them, then, and then I want to do the way that I run my business, I want to do one deal with my real estate friends a year. So each friend that I have, like my goal is to do one deal with them a year. And so that's kind of what I'm working for. But what are you guys working for? Do you have a goal of one deal a month? Do you have a goal of 10 deals a month? How are you going to get to that? Once you have clarity and your goals are in place, then all your decisions on what systems to use, what habits to form are all bumped up against your goal. Are they getting you towards that goal? Are they taking you away from that goal? If it takes me toward my goal, it's the best thing I can be doing. Or do I need to look for more options? Okay, what are your key goals? This is one of your action items, okay? Okay, let's fill this out real quick. Once we're done with this, we'll take a 10-minute break and then we'll finish up. But what's your annual goal? What would you love to hit? Number of units, annual income. Okay, I'm gonna put 250K in here. That's 3 deals a month. Okay. You can decide if you want higher or lower than that. What's your floor? What must you hit no matter what? So if you have a higher goal, you have to have something where, okay, I can't live unless I do a deal a month or 2 deals a month, or I can't, like I have to do 10 deals a year to survive. What is that number? So I'm going to put 1 deal a month here. And again, this is going to be different for everybody, but the idea being think about what your goals are. Mindset, what's your why, your drive, your passion, your passion. So one of my whys is to be able to help my kids if they're ever as desperate as I was, because I would have lost everything if my dad hadn't been there to help me. And so not everybody's in a position to help their kids like that, but I want to be in that position because that was an awful place to feel like I would to be, and I want it. So I want to help my kids. Now this could be I want to retire when I'm 40. I want to travel. I want to go, whatever your passion is, whatever keeps you going at your very worst days. And you can have more than one why. When I run into challenges, setbacks, moments I feel like I'm not giving my best today, or maybe even thinking about quitting, what will keep me going today and doing my best? Okay, again, what keeps you going when things are hard? Because you have to have something. It will get hard. And you need to have a reason why you're not going to give up and just go back to whatever job you did before, or something else that's easier or that doesn't require as much. What do you need to eliminate to become successful? What stories, excuses, bad habits are holding you back? Okay, we talked about some of these. Is it rates? Are rates holding you back? Is it the market? Are you feeding yourself negative thoughts about the market? What can you stop saying when you find those thoughts coming in your brain? What can you do to keep them out? Okay. Who's your coach or accountability partner? How often will you meet? Okay. Who are you going to do that with? For a while, I was texting my brother-in-law because he's a loan officer in Oregon, and I was texting him, can I text you every time that I do my calls so that I can do that? And that just every once in a while, when I notice that I'm kind of getting off track, then I'll have an accountability partner for a little while, a few weeks to get back on track even. What time each day and which days will you sharpen the saw? So typically this is in the morning for me. When I'm getting ready, I'm usually listening to Darren Daily or somebody else that's going to help me with my mindset. So figure out a time when you're working out. Are you listening to books on tape? Are you listening to music? There's nothing bad about listening to music. I find that when I'm driving, because I drive a lot, I try to have a book on tape that's helpful, that's to listen to, because when I get home, I want to read my books that are novels in my off time. So I try to use my time when I'm driving to sharpen the saw and work on mindset and work on self-help and learning. So I'm going to say driving. When I'm driving, I'm trying to listen to that stuff. I have lots of like Audible books that I can recommend to you if you need any that are really good. to help. What time each day is your daily planning session? When's your weekly planning session? So do you have time that you're set aside to plan what you're going to do tomorrow, right? Let's say that your day ends at 5 o'clock. Do you know what's happening the next day? Is it already planned out? Spend 10 minutes to plan your day so that it can be successful and efficient. What's your morning routine? So you will win each day. What do you do in the mornings? Are you clicking your snooze 4 or 5 times before you get out of bed? Do you know what you're going to do the next day? Now, I have days when I click my snooze. I'm not saying I'm perfect, right? But for the most part, are you getting up? Do you know what you're doing? Do you have a routine to get you started that helps you feel good? Your morning coffee in the sun, your exercise, what do you do to keep so that you're working on you and getting up and making sure your day goes well? What time each day is your power hour? I feel like this is super important. Schedule a block of time when you're going to reach out to people. And this, I'm sure you guys have heard before, it's disgusting, but it sticks in your mind. It will help you remember diarrhea time. This is diarrhea time. If you have diarrhea, there's nothing that will get in your way from you taking care of business. So this should be something that you block out and nobody can interrupt you. There's a brokerage that if you want to interrupt somebody during their power hour, you better come with $100 bill because that's it's their most important time. So figure out a way so that you can really make sure that that time is the most important time of your day and you try to never have it interrupted. And then think about 1 to 4 active and passive systems that you want to use to drive your success. This could be posting a little bit more on social media, posting good content, weekly updates on the market, posting something about what rates are doing, following somebody that you can post a little bit about that, right? Something that you can put in place that will help you, but that can sort of be automated and doesn't take too much time. Okay, so take a picture of this if you want, fill this out. I think this could be a good way to kind of analyze where you are in your business and how things are going. Okay, it's 11:08. When we come back, I'm going to give the second word. So let's just take a quick 10-minute break. We'll be back at 11:19. So let's plan to meet back here at 11:19. And right when we get on, I'll give the second word. So don't be late. Take care of everything you need to, and then we'll quick finish up the rest of the class. Okay, hopefully everybody's back. Let's do our second word. And let's do mental. So I'm going to share with you a video by Jordan Peterson that I like called Mental Toughness. So our second word is mental. If you just came back, remember you need 4 out of the 5. And we're going to watch this video. Again, I won't be able to see you while I'm doing the video, so if you can't hear, let me know. I can't hear it.
You're actually tougher than you think. You never knew that. And maybe you didn't want to take on the responsibility because, you know, people play a role in their own demise. You're actually tougher than you think. You never knew that. And maybe you didn't want to take on the responsibility because, you know, people play a role in their own demise, so to speak. When you had opportunity to go out and explore or withdraw because you were afraid, you chose to withdraw because you were afraid. So it's not only that you were overprotected often, it's that you were willing to take advantage of the fact that you were overprotected and run back there whenever you had the opportunity. You know, so maybe you're a kid in the playground, right, and you're having some trouble with other kids, and you know in the back of your mind, I should deal with this myself, but you go and tell your mom and get her to intervene. And you know that that's not right. You know that you're breaking the social contract, but it's easier, and so that's what you do. You run off to an authority figure and hide behind the Great Father, right, roughly speaking. Well, the problem with that is you don't learn how to do it yourself. So then you have to relearn it painfully when you're 40. So then you take people out. You say, well, what are you afraid of? Rank it from 1 to 10. So 10 is, we'll make a list of 10 things you're afraid of. The thing you're least afraid of we'll call number 10. So we'll start with that. Okay, well, I'm afraid of elevators. Okay, well, let's look at a picture of an elevator. Let's have you imagine being in an elevator. Let's go out to an elevator and let you watch the terrible jaws of death open, because that's how you're responding to it symbolically, right? And you're going to do that at the closest proximity you can manage. You find out, you go do that, it works. You're nervous as hell, especially from an anticipatory perspective. Shaking. You go out, you stop, you watch it happen, and you actually calm down. You do that 10 times and it no longer bothers you. Well, what you've learned that you didn't die, but more importantly than that, you've learned that you could withstand the threat of death. That's what you've learned. And then you move a little closer, and then you move a little closer, and then you move a little closer, and finally you're back in what's no longer the elevator from a symbolic perspective. It's a tomb, right? It's a place of enclosure and isolation. And you learn, turns out I can withstand that. And then you're much more together, much more confident. And that's often one of the things that often happens in situations like that. I've seen this multiple times, is that if you run someone through an exposure training process like that and toughen them up, they'll often start standing up to people around them in a way they never did before. Sometimes people are bullied because they can't fight back. This can happen to people who are weaker physically than their opponents. This is one of the most common reasons for the bullying experienced by children. Even the toughest of 6-year-olds is no match for someone who is 9. A lot of that power differential disappears in adulthood, however, with the rough stabilization and matching of physical size, with the exception of that pertaining to men and women, with the former typically larger and stronger, particularly in the upper body, as well as the increased penalties, generally applied in adulthood to those who insist upon continuing with physical intimidation. But just as often, people are bullied because they won't fight back. This happens not infrequently to people who are by temperament compassionate and self-sacrificing, particularly if they're also high in negative emotion and make a lot of gratifying noises of suffering when someone sadistic confronts them. Children who cry more easily, for example, are more frequently bullied. It also happens to people who have decided, for one reason or another, that all forms of aggression, including even feelings of anger, are morally wrong. I have seen people with a particularly acute...
So wait, what's the catch? That's what most people ask when they hear about Rocky Mountain Power's new
sensitivity to petty tyranny and over-aggressive competitiveness restrict within themselves all the emotions that might give rise to such things. With their capacity for aggression straight, jacketed within a too narrow morality, those who are only or merely compassionate and self-sacrificing and naive and exploitable cannot call forth the genuinely righteous and appropriately self-protective anger necessary to defend themselves. If you can bite, you generally don't have to. When skillfully integrated, the ability to respond with aggression and violence decreases, rather than increases the probability that actual aggression will become necessary. If you say no early in the cycle of oppression, and you mean what you say, which means you state your refusal in no uncertain terms and stand behind it, then the scope for oppression on the part of oppressor will remain properly bounded and limited. Naive, harmless people usually guide their perceptions and actions with a few simple axioms. People are basically good. No one really wants to hurt anyone else, the threat. And certainly, the use of force, physical or otherwise, is wrong. These axioms collapse, or worse, in the presence of individuals who are genuinely malevolent. Worse means that naive beliefs can become a positive invitation to abuse, because those who aim to harm have become specialized to prey on people who think precisely such things. Under such conditions, the axioms of harmlessness must be retooled. In my clinical practice, I often draw the attention of my clients who think that good people never become angry to the stark realities of their own resentments. No one likes to be pushed around, but people often put up with it for too long. So I get them to see their resentment first as anger, and then as an indication that something needs to be said. If not done, not least because honesty demands it. Then I get them to see such action as part of the force that holds tyranny at bay, at the social level, as much as the individual. Many bureaucracies have petty authoritarians within them, generating unnecessary rules and procedures simply to express and cement power. Such people produce powerful undercurrents of resentment around them which, if expressed, would limit their expression of pathological power. It is in this manner that the willingness of the individual to stand up for him or herself protects everyone from the corruption of society. When naive people discover the capacity for anger within themselves, they are shocked, sometimes severely. A profound example of that can be found in the susceptibility of new soldiers to post-traumatic stress disorder, which often occurs because of something they watch themselves doing, rather than because of something that has happened to them. They react like the monsters they can truly be in extreme battlefield conditions, and the revelation of that capacity undoes their world. And no wonder, perhaps they assumed that all of history's terrible perpetrators were people totally unlike themselves. Perhaps they were never able to see within themselves the capacity for oppression and bullying, and perhaps not their capacity for assertion and success as well. I have had clients who were terrified into literally years of daily hysterical convulsions by the sheer look of malevolence on their attackers' faces. Such individuals typically come from hyper-sheltered families, where nothing terrible is allowed to exist, and everything is fairyland wonderful, or else. When the awakening occurs, when once naive people recognize in themselves the seeds of evil and monstrosity, and see themselves as dangerous, at least potentially, their fear decreases. They develop more self-respect. Then perhaps they begin to resist oppression. They see that they have the ability to withstand because they are terrible too. They see they can and must stand up because they begin to understand how genuinely monstrous they will become, otherwise feeding on their resentment, transforming it into the most destructive of wishes. To say it again, there is very little difference between the capacity for mayhem and destruction, integrated and strength of character. This is one of the most difficult lessons of life. Life is difficult, and you cannot protect your children. What you can do is prepare them
and you can prepare them to be strong and courageous and truthful and resilient and reciprocal in their interactions with other people. And that means you equip them for what life will be, which is at minimum a series of difficult challenges, and often more than that, because of course people go through very difficult times in their lives. And a resilient person is capable of standing up to things in the face of fear and moving forward voluntarily, convinced.
Okay, I'm going to stop there because I love that, what he says. A resilient person is able to stand up to themselves in the face of fear. What are you guys scared of as far as real estate's concerned? What's the most scary thing you have to do as a real estate agent? Or what was the scariest thing you had to do when you started if you're not scared of anything anymore? Calling people, Tammy said. Okay, good. How did you get over that, Tammy?
Well, I don't know that I've really ever gotten over it, but it's just something that you have to do, you know, so just breathe deep and do it.
Okay, okay. Putting yourself out there and believing in yourself, Ashley said. Good. Ashley, how do you deal with that fear?
Pretty much like you said, just fake it till you make it.
Okay, okay. And I mean, that really does work in some ways. That's a hard thing for me. I like to think of myself as a very genuine person, so that's really hard for me. And at first, when I was doing that, that's really I just had to do it. And as you do it, you get less and less scared, and you become more and more confident in doing something that's hard. So, okay, good. Anybody else? Okay, I want you guys to write down on a piece of paper what's something that you have been wanting to do, but have been putting it off. It could be personal, it could be real estate, it could be anything. What's something that you've been wanting to do that you've been putting off? While you're thinking about that, I'll tell you a story. And again, the let them theory. She said one of her really good friends called and she was super upset. She was a interior designer, and one of the ladies in her neighborhood had started this interior designer post on social media and a page, and she was posting stuff and it was going viral. And the friend called her and said, "This is so stupid. She didn't even decorate anything. She's posting stuff that she didn't even decorate. She's got this website and she's not even an interior designer. I've been in the business for 20 years." And she talked to her friend for a minute and she was like, "Why is this so upsetting to you?" Right? Well, it turns out her friend had been wanting to update her website. Her friend had been wanting to update her content and she hadn't done it. And so it was so upsetting to her. This is like an immature emotional thing, right? And a lot of us have immature emotions as adults. We were never taught how to be mature emotionally, right? So she was just saying to her, "Okay, look at this. This is all stuff that's upsetting you because you wanted to do it and you've been putting it off. You knew your website needed revamping. You knew that your social media content needed revamping, but you hadn't done it." And why do we put things off like that we know we should do? I'll do it tomorrow. Oh, I just want to lay down and watch TV. I'm tired, right? We put things off that we know we should do. And the reasons why are valid. There's nothing invalid about the reasons why we put things off. But ideally, we don't put things off, right? We do the things we know we want and need to do. And it's hard because we're wired naturally to be comfortable. Our bodies and minds are wired to be comfortable. And so if you come across something that's going to be hard, that's going to be difficult, that's not going to just be easy to do, which is most things that we really want to do, that are good for us to do, right? It's easier to go get fast food than to go to the store and cut up all the vegetables and cook healthy food, right? It's easier to sit down on the couch rather than get ready to go to the gym and put on the clothes and put on your shoes and all the things to go to the gym every day. It's easier to say, oh, I'll do my calls tomorrow, because it's harder to, the thought of doing calls is bothering you and you're nervous and you're trying to come up with any reason not to do your calls, right? So we are wired for comfort, and we need to be okay with being uncomfortable if we're going to get to the level that we want to get to. Okay, so hopefully everybody wrote something down that you've been wanting to do, but that you've been putting off. And hopefully you can make that goal to today, do that thing that you've been putting off, and not put it off anymore. And I'm going to do the same thing because I have something specific in mind too. Okay. So we talked about clarity. Let's see, where were we? I went back. Okay, everyone faces doubts, that moment of crisis when they question if they should even be in real estate. What will keep you going through these tough times? Not going, but thriving. No matter what is going on, you are going to thrive no matter where the interest rates are, no matter what, okay? Correct mindset, burning passion, unstoppable drive. So in the video, he talks about there are so many things that can cause you to have, like, be scared of things, to throw you off your goals. We all have different personality types. He talked about different personality types that are more likely to be resistant to boundaries or fears. So we all have different things. That doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means there might be things that are easier for one person and harder for another person. Ultra successful people, when they decide on something, it's done. End of story. Goal will be achieved no matter what. Nobody's getting in their way. No discussion. The end. Okay, that's what we're trying to go for. That's the mentality you want. No matter what, you're going to make sure that you get to where you're going. Now, I would add in here, without stepping on other people. We don't need to step on other people to get to our goals. We don't need to hurt someone else to get to our goals. But ultra successful people, when they decide on something, they do it. We all have the same 24 hours in the day. Unsuccessful people and successful people have the same amount of time. Ultra successfuls have this finality that when a decision is made, that goal is good as done. I've heard somebody say that, oh shoot, I won't remember his name now, Kobe Bryant, that he would make contracts with himself, and that he would write down what he wanted to do and sign it like a contract. And the other day I was like, maybe I could try that, but I'm scared, because what if I don't do what I said I'm going to do? Then I'm going to feel like stupid, and and I thought, okay, wait a minute. I'm scared of not doing what I'm not doing right now. Right? So anyway, I just thought that was kind of something cool that he did that I wanted to share with you guys. And that meant he wasn't going to break that contract. He was signing a contract with himself. And the more that we don't break that contract with ourselves and do the things that we know that we want to do, the more confident we will become. I'd rather see somebody working hard at an inferior system than jumping from one thing to the next. So what's the best thing you could be doing? You don't really know until you start trying things. Again, like I said, successful people have failed more times than the unsuccessful people have even tried. So failing at a system that you're trying doesn't mean that it's horrible, that you're terrible, that you're not going to be a good real estate agent or any of those things. It just means that you tried something and it didn't work, and you're going to try something else. Set your standards. Standards get met. Wants are merely wishes. So set your standards. Maybe write them down. Put them on your wall. What am I going to do, so that you see them? And enlist a friend to do them with you. It's always, you see people go to pairs in the gym because you're more likely to go if somebody else is waiting for you on the days that you don't want to get up. Talked about know your why. Before you can achieve your goals, you're going to have challenges. You are going to have failures. You're going to have moments when you wonder if you can even accomplish this. Your drive has to be so strong so it will get past the tough points. Your why passion will be the key to you succeeding or not. If the why is strong enough, the way will appear. I'm going to say that again. If the why is strong enough, the way will appear. Successful people have learned you don't find your passion, you create your passion. Unsuccessful people are still searching for their passions. Sometimes people get lucky and find their passions, just like a very small percentage of people win the lottery or write the bestseller book. But the other 99.9% of us, we have to create what we want. Okay, so again, what is your drive, your unstoppable drive, your burning passion? Okay, I love this slide. It's one of my favorites because when we see somebody who's already successful, we think that they went this way. They're just they just made it there so fast. They didn't have any problems, right? Where this is really what successful goals and objectives look like. And so, you know, we have the uninformed optimism. We're so excited. You see all this all the time. When a new real estate agent jumps in the business, they're so excited. They're going to make so much money. It's going to be so easy. And after a couple months, they haven't had their first deal and they feel like they've been working hard. And now they have informed pessimism, and that comes down to this yellow dot, a moment of crisis. And we see it all the time where people just say, forget it, this is too hard, and go back, right? So that's this side where you just say, no, I don't want to do this. This is too hard. Or you say, okay, this is harder than I thought. I'm really going to have to work at this. And then you go along this path, and there is this up and down before you get to your objective, right? We've all had it. Start something and we've got some few deals going, and then we get off our path and we go down a little bit. So success is never this straight line. Ask anybody who's been successful and they've had lots of failures. And those failures are what get you to be successful and figure out the way to get to be successful. Okay, the boxing again. So many times I feel like a boxer. Some days I'm winning, some days I'm getting the crap kicked out of me. The secret is to keep getting up, to learn each time I fall. And then I find I fall less and less. I love that. To learn each time I fall, and then I find I fall less and less. I learn tips and tricks so that I don't get blindsided the next time. So let me give you an example in lending. The other day I was teaching a class to some of our newer loan officers about the process from when the contract comes in to when you close the deal. And I love to read all my underwriting conditions. I love to know exactly what we forgot to do or what we missed, because every deal is different. You guys know that. Every deal that goes into lending, every deal that goes in, it's different. There's something different on every deal. And so my goal is to come out of underwriting without any conditions. That's always my goal. And to be done a couple weeks early so that if there is anything, we have plenty of time to fulfill the conditions. But I told some of these young loan officers, I'm like, read your conditions when your underwriter talks about it. You're going to learn fastest by learning what you did wrong. And you're going to learn, okay, I know I need that for next time in this same situation. And I know that I'm going to think about that next time I'm in this situation. And that's how you learn and grow. And if you have plenty of time, you know, you're not going to be stressed at all about making sure that deal closes. So remembering all the different things you learn on every deal just gives you another arrow in your quiver to be able to help somebody the next time with that specific situation. Don't quit. Create resilience. Sometimes we find ourselves with that nightmare file and client that seems like it won't ever end, but it will. I was saying how I hate fires with deals, and I'm sure you guys do too, right? That last minute deal that's falling apart and you're trying to save it. I never want to be in that position, and neither do you guys, right? And so the more we know, the more we follow up, the more we make sure that doesn't happen, it's better. And it takes so much of your energy to deal with those kinds of things. So we want to avoid those at all costs. The worst thing you can do is die. I'm not talking about physically dying, but spending months and years in this business. You don't do the necessary things and then you die, meaning you have to leave and go back to the safe job where you can save $25 a month and take 3,000 years to become a millionaire. Be resilient. Don't quit when things get tough. Okay, the 5-minute rule. Who knows the 5-minute rule? Sorry, I've been talking a lot. I haven't asked you guys for any comments, but who knows the 5-minute rule? Are you going to have things that are hard? Yes. Are you going to have things that are really hard? You're going to want to cry? Yes. So I always say 5 to 10 minutes I'm going to spend being sad about something, being upset about something, and then I'm going to move on. Now, some things require longer than that. I understand that, but the idea being that we spend as little time in that space as possible. So you guys have heard the storm, right? We're all going to have storms that are going to try to throw us off track, but you've heard that the cows versus buffaloes, how they deal with storms. I have a buffalo in my office to remind me. Buffalo goes straight through the storm. They head straight into the storm and they spend less time in the storm, whereas cows run away from the storm and they end up spending more time in the storm. So ideally, we spend as little as possible in those spaces that are taking us away from our success and our mindset. How about the story of Viktor Frankl? Has anybody read That Man's Search for Meaning? Super cool idea being that, he's in a concentration camp and he's trying to figure out how to not be bitter, right? You guys heard that? You can either be bitter or better. And I like to think that we can be better. So I did go in and search with AI, and it kind of just put a few things from Viktor Frankl's book in here. If you have time, that would be a good read. The last of the human freedoms, Frankl argues that even in the most horrific circumstances, people retain the freedom to choose their attitude. So sometimes there are things you can't choose, but you can choose how you respond, and you can choose your attitude. This inner decision, he concludes, is what determines whether a person remains decent or succumbs to evil. 3 ways to find meaning, he says, through works or deeds, pursuing a purpose through creative, fulfilling work, through love, finding meaning in human connection, and through suffering, taking a courageous and meaningful stance toward unavoidable suffering. So suffering's unavoidable in life, but you choose if you want to be a victim or not. So just that idea that we spend as little time in that mentality as possible. Okay, I talked about you can either be uncomfortable and growing, or you can stay comfortable and stagnant. But we really need to find those ways to stretch ourselves, and it's going to be a different area for everybody. What makes one person uncomfortable doesn't necessarily make somebody else uncomfortable. What's uncomfortable for Ashley is maybe not what's uncomfortable for John, and vice versa. So what makes you uncomfortable? What things are you avoiding because it's uncomfortable? And should you be going towards that instead of away from it? To grow, you must get uncomfortable. There is no growth in the comfort zone, and there is no comfort in the growth zone. Embrace discomfort. Okay, this is what we were talking about, our mindset, and a lot of people have a hard time making phone calls. It's intimidating, but remember, you're not wired to become successful. Your mind is wired to keep you safe. And so you're kind of always fighting with yourself a little bit. And so realize that, accept it, and understand it. The most important thing you need to do every day is pick up the phone and call people. You need to talk to, more importantly, connect with as many people as you can each day. Spread your net as wide as possible. But what's the challenge for many people? It's hard. Think of any of the following: getting up at 5 a.m. to exercise, being on the edge of a cliff, jumping out of an airplane, etc. Think of how the average mind and body react to things like this. A small few of you may feel excitement at these thoughts that bring it on attitude, but for the rest of us, thinking of something like this fills us with dread. Our minds release chemicals that literally slow us down, make us dizzy or nauseous. It's like our mind is commanding, don't go toward the dangerous thing. What is the one and only way to get over your fear of picking up the phone? Tammy told us. You just have to do it. Okay. I want to talk about extreme ownership. I used to show a video, but it was very like military, and I stopped showing it. But the idea being that you take 100% responsibility of your life, your success, where you are. Don't blame anybody else for where you are. Now that's easier for some of us than others of us. Some of us have really hard things going on in our lives that feel very controlling. But the same is true for you. No matter what situation you're in, you are responsible for your success or for your failure, 100%. And so taking extreme ownership of your situation is going to be super helpful, right? So the people who come in your office and are like, the market's terrible, the rates are too high, nobody's buying, this is a terrible time, right? They're finding an excuse or not taking any ownership to the reasons why they're not seeing success. And so the more ownership you can take of your life, the better you'll feel. And you'll be able to do the things that you want to do. Create a mindset of everything is my fault, everything is my responsibility. Half of people will not accept this. You say that's stupid. There's no way everything's my fault, right? It's not my fault my boss won't help me. It's not my fault I got cancer or my spouse left me, I was abused as a kid and so forth. Why are you blaming the victim? So I'm not trying to discount any of those things being hard. Don't take it the wrong way. But the idea being that you are responsible for your life. And if we give our responsibility and our, the trajectory of our lives to somebody else, it's very disempowering. When we say this is my fault or this is my responsibility, we keep the power to our success. When we blame others, we are giving them the power of our failures. So now this is not a real estate example, and I know I haven't been using just real estate examples, so I hope you'll forgive me. But recently when I was reading a book and I was thinking about my own life, and she was saying everything is your responsibility. If you want something, you go get it. And I remember when I felt trapped in my life and didn't feel like I had any power. And even now, I was kind of blaming someone else for my lack of success, before. Like, okay, we didn't have any money when I was a stay-at-home mom. And, I'm totally dependent on somebody else. And what I used to say was, well, if I would have gotten a job, he wouldn't have supported me. And I would have just been doing it all anyway. And then I would have had a full-time job. Okay, that could be true. But that gives my power away. And what really is the truth is that my life, no matter what, was my responsibility. So why did I not go get a job then when we didn't have enough money? Because I wanted to stay home with my kids and I wanted to spend time with them when they were little. It had nothing to do with him. It had everything to do with me. And so instead, what I should be saying is, I wanted to stay home with my kids. I could have gone and gotten a job, but I wanted to stay home with my kids. Now that's very personal. I'm not saying that's what anybody else should say or do. We all have our own things that are very personal. But at the end of the day, blaming someone else for what the decisions I made is never going to help me. No matter what they did, no matter what they would have done, I'm doing it all myself now. Right? That was my excuse before. So anyway, just the idea, think of things in your life that you are losing power because you're blaming someone else for, and try to give yourself a different narrative. It's very empowering to say, I am 100% responsible for my own success, my own life, my own failure, my own happiness. Very, very good. Okay. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is a choice. We are going to have pain. Again, 5-minute rule. We're going to spend as little time as we can feeling sorry for ourselves, but we do have things that are hard, and it is okay to be sad. Being victimized is inevitable. Being the victim is a choice. We can constantly have our mindset be, I'm a victim, this is too hard, the rates are too high, there's not enough deals, I can't find anybody who wants to buy. Nobody wants to buy right now, everybody's waiting. You can always find things like that. That's what we're trying to avoid, and to teach our minds to not go to that place. So much respect for someone who comes in and takes ownership of a problem, lays out what they are going to do to fix it. So much lack of respect when someone comes in with a problem, all upset, blaming everyone else. So if you've ever been a manager and somebody comes in and they don't take any responsibility for what they've done or what they haven't done, but they're just blaming other people, that's a lot different than just saying, yeah, I need to do better, and this is what I'm going to do, and take responsibility. Any comments? When you encounter a challenge, your mind will always take one of two routes: empowering, I've got this, what I need to do to make this, what do I need to do to make this happen? Or disempowering, it's too hard, it's not worth it, I can't do it, might as well quit now. Okay. What if your mind right now is doing that? What if you're saying, anytime you confront something that's hard, your mind is feeding yourself, it's too hard, it's not worth it, I can't do it, might as well quit now. What can you do? If somebody came to you and they're like, I can't do it, it's too hard, what would you tell them? Assuming they want your advice, what would you tell them? I mean, if you're negative, can you ever become positive? I believe it's a learned thing. So if you have some negative thoughts coming into your mind, can you choose to start listening to the positive stuff and throwing out the negative? Do you think that's possible? Not necessarily an answer that needs to be done, but what are you going to choose? Okay, so it's one of the secrets to life is there's always a way. So find that way. And don't limit yourself by your beliefs. I think one of the things that keeps people from being successful is their limiting beliefs about themselves. Okay, 2 pains in life, everyone constantly faces. I talked about this before. You're going to have pain, either the pain of all the challenges while keeping going and eventually succeeding, or the pain of giving up and living with the failure and defeat. Which pain do you choose? Right? So you can have the pain of, okay, this is hard, but I'm going to keep going and I'm going to keep doing it and I'm going to eventually be successful, or I'm just going to say, forget it, it's easier not to try, but that has its own pain. Why is this so hard? Right? Why isn't it just like super easy? I mean, if it was easy to be successful, we would all be successful and we'd all make millions of dollars, right? So why is this so hard? We talked about this a little bit before, but when there's something you need to do, is it just easy? Or do you have to prepare and you have to? So again, exercise example. You come home from work, you're tired, you know you want to exercise, you know you'll feel better if you exercise. And you sit down on the couch and it feels so good to sit on the couch, and then you lay down and you get your book and you're reading your book and it feels so good. What do you have to do to be able to do what you know you need to do? You have to get up, you have to put your workout clothes on, you have to get your shoes on, you got to get your gym bag stuff, you got to drive to the gym, you got to work out, you got to come home, you got to shower, right? That's why we don't do it, because there's a lot of effort involved. And so it is hard. If it wasn't, everybody would be doing it. Okay. We are the ultimate adaptation machines, meaning that we can learn and do pretty much anything we want as long as we stop getting in our own way. Success at anything will always come down to this: focus and effort, and we control both. Your success or lack of success is 100% on you. Okay, I've been talking a lot. Everybody think for a minute. And if you would be willing to share what has helped you overcome some of the things that have been hard as you've learned to be a successful real estate agent. Share with us something that has helped you become successful. Now, again, you could be a brand new agent, but what has something that has helped you do the things that you know you need to do to be successful?
I think it's very important to believe, like you said, have faith in you and believe that you're not alone. I mean, we have God, so He's always going to help us. He's our Father. He will help us to do whatever we want to do, and we are not alone. And we need to have faith and wake up in the morning and do it, and and just keep doing it.
I mean, really, right? It's simple but hard, because just keep doing it is really true. And that's very
we are
simple.
going to fail, but it's
Mhm.
okay to stand up and yeah, and keep doing it.
Good, good, thank you. Okay, John says overcoming fear of putting myself out there on through video. Okay, how many of you have ever been nervous about putting yourself out there on social media? Making videos. I don't ever watch my videos, I just post them because if I watch them, I'll never post them. And I haven't been very good at videos lately either. Okay, that's a good one, John. How have you been overcoming that fear? What have you been doing to help yourself overcome that fear?
Just doing it.
Okay,
It's
that's
just
it.
it's just doing it, right? Getting more comfortable in front of the camera. And yeah, I don't watch some of the stuff I do too. I mean, I let my daughter edit the videos sometimes because
Oh,
she's,
good.
but yeah, just do it, and you're gonna find your tribe. You're gonna find the people that like you, and that that's all you need. You don't need to please everybody, So you
Well,
just
we take it so personally when somebody doesn't accept us too. Like we take it like it doesn't mean anything besides that they're just not your tribe, like John says, right? So we don't need to take it so personally. Good. I love that. Thanks, John. Jennifer says, be honest with myself, admit failure and correct mistakes. I love that. Okay, be honest with yourself about what you are and aren't doing, right? We don't need to sugarcoat it with ourselves. We need to be honest and real with ourselves so that we can make our failures turn them into success. And if we did fail, okay, we don't need to beat ourselves up about it. We just need to start again and try again and correct those mistakes. Good. I love it. Okay. One thing I always like to talk about in some of these classes is watch your words so carefully. Um, your inner voice and the words you choose to use make a difference. And, we've had some hard things these last couple days in our world. And I was talking with my boys about it. And I don't want to talk anything political, please don't misunderstand. But it was fascinating to watch some of the comments. And my son was looking at some of the comments and it was upsetting to him. And I said, you don't even need to read those comments. Just read the good ones. We don't even need to put that into our mind and even notice what some of these people are commenting. So comments, I don't love comments. Sometimes I'll read comments on things, but most of the time I don't. Whereas he's like always reading the comments and I'm like, that can be so hard on you to see what people are saying about certain topics because people post, they would never say something to somebody's face that they post. It's like text, right? Some of you are old enough to remember before cell phones and like people say things in text that you would never say face to face. It's the most fascinating thing. I believe words we send out into the universe are like seeds we plant into the ground. Now, people used to tell me this when I was younger. They'd be like, what you put out there will come back to you. And it was almost like this magical thing that I was like, okay, that doesn't even make sense. That's so stupid. But the idea being what you think about, what you focus your time on, what you spend time on, that's where you end up. It's just the way that it is. It has nothing to do with magic or, some special power out there. It's just the fact that what you focus on, you're going to see. Have any of you guys ever bought a new car and then you see that same car everywhere and you never used to see that car? Or have you ever like bought a pair of jeans and then you see somebody else with those pairs of jeans and you're like, wait a minute, like or you have a kid that has a disability and now you see that disability everywhere. So I have a child with a disability, so I'm like, okay, you never hear that until, wait, now I see it everywhere. So it's just that idea that if you're putting negative things into your mind, you're going to see that. It's going to be reflected because that's what you're focusing on. Double-edged sword, your words can drive you up or they can take you down. Powerful words versus disempowering words, right? Like I can do it versus this is so hard. Or I appreciate what you're saying, but I'm going to choose something different. Or I appreciate that you're struggling with that, but I would like to not focus on the negative. Or they're just courage versus fearful words. And so be careful. Just kind of do an inventory of yourself the next few days. What kind of words are coming into your head? What kind of words are you saying? What is your vocabulary? And make an adjustment if you need to. When you run into a problem, just think about this, do a mental assessment. Are you a problem solver or are you a complainer? When you're faced with something, do you try to figure out a solution? Or would you rather just complain that it happens? And complainers are in other people's offices talking to people that cannot do anything about it, just complaining. So, you know, I don't want people to come in and complain because I don't want that to be my narrative. So it's kind of like my mom used to say, if you don't have something nice, don't say anything at all. And there just are some people that just always complain, and that's okay. But we want to I mean, I'm not going to tell somebody they can't complain, right? But at the same time, I don't want to associate or fill my life with that. And so I may choose not to spend time with them. Okay. Are you a problem spotter, problem inflamer, or a problem solver? Right? Are you somebody who sees the problems everywhere? Or are you somebody who says, I have a way to fix this? There's always a way. Okay. Where do real estate agents get their business? Where do they find their business? What do you guys think? Open your chat, put one thing in there. Where do real estate agents find their business? Think of your last few deals. Where did you find that business? Say that again. People I knew, Tammy said, good. Okay, so referrals, people you know. That's a big one. John, where are you finding your business now? You said you've always done referral base. Where are you finding your business now?
It's a little of both. It's referral, and then I'm starting to do a lot of reach ads on Facebook and Instagram. So really focusing on all my friends are on social media, so I'm really focusing on social media 100%. Just trying to convert the everybody on social media to my database, so they see me, they hear me all the time, and kind of develop that. Hey, he knows he's there all the time. He's always in front of me, so they think of me first.
I love it. Good. Okay, social media. Any others?
I am doing another thing too. I started doing what I call like a CMA drop off.
Okay.
So I have I started with just my neighborhood, started with a couple hundred, but now I have 1,000 homes that I deliver to every single month.
Wow. How are you delivering them? Through the mail or how?
Well, no, we walk every morning, so we're like, why are we walking our neighborhood every morning and not drop? So we just walk and drop off on
I love it.
their porches. So we just rotate every month with a different piece of content and a QR code that leads them to, you want to know what's your house worth or what's happening in our community, just things like that, just so that those 1,000 people think of us. So we added 500. We added 500 this last month, so we're starting the next 500 just now. But we've been going about 5 months on the other one.
Awesome. So you're walking a lot. Okay, you're getting exercise too. Wow. Kill two birds with one stone.
Losing weight, making money.
I love it. Okay, good. So there's lots of ways. Let's talk a little bit about this study that we did. If you've been to some of my other classes, you've seen this study. But basically, where do people find their real estate agents? How did you choose your agent? 43.5, I already knew the agent. Okay, so everybody knows probably 10 to 12 real estate agents, any given person, right? And then 29% agent was referred by family or friend. 13% I used the agent before. So those top three is a very big majority, right? Referral, they know you, like you, trust you. Okay. Very small, don't use a real estate agent, referred to by the seller or listing agent. So there's a little bit, but basically, for the most part, know you, like you, trust you, and had used them before. So I was walking in my neighborhood one day and one of my neighbors had their house listed for sale. I was walking my dogs and they were moving and I'm like, oh, are you going to buy another house? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, oh, I'm a lender. Do you need a lender? Oh, we already have a lender. I didn't know you did that. Whose fault? Mine, right? Like, I hadn't actually reached out to the people who live around me and let them know that I was a lender, okay? Does social media help you decide on which agent to go with? So this is an interesting one. There's lots of debates about social media. John's using social media a ton, he's saying, and social media, I think, really does help keep people in front of you. Everybody's on social media. So whether they already know you or not, if they see you on social media, they remember that you're a real estate agent if you're posting content on there. So it's a good idea to be involved in social media. What's the problem with social media, or what can be the problem with social media? How many of you have been scrolling and like, oh, I'll just scroll for a minute, and 3 hours later you're like, oh, maybe I should stop scrolling. So it can be a big time waster, right? And so you have to be careful about that. When I need an agent, when I next need an agent, where will I go first? Most people said I'd use the one I used before. Okay, so it's so important to do a good job with every deal that you do, and they're going to be basically like your unpaid sales force. What's the rule about referrals, real quick? What can you give somebody for a referral? Up to how much? We're almost done, you guys. We have like 20 more minutes. How much money can you give somebody for a referral?
250?
250, good.
Yeah.
Good, and Tammy put that in too. Okay, up to 250 you can give them for a referral. Now, what's the huge distinction that we have to remember? Unsolicited. You cannot solicit referrals and offer to give them money for their referrals. But if they do give you a referral, you can give them a gift. So you can't go out and hand out flyers. John can't go put a flyer and say, if you give somebody to me, I'll give you $250, right? That's a violation. But if they do and you give them money, then you're okay. So unsolicited. Okay, good. Let's see. How many agents did you interview? This one's good. One. Most people only talk to one agent. So if you're not first, you're last, right? So you want to be one of the first or second people who spoke to an agent. Goal is to build your unpaid sales force army. Every person you add to your database and correctly work is as if adding 100 people to your database, because you're adding all those people that they know. Let's see. Okay, so when we talk about this, your database is one of the most important things that you can have. So think about your database for a minute. Do a self-evaluation about your database. Are you utilizing your database? Do you have an automated database where you can put things in and emails can go out or notifications can go out automatically? Some brokerages offer them, some don't. The best database is the one that you're using. So when I very first started, I just used Excel. I didn't pay for a database. I do have a database now, but at first I just used Excel. You can merge and do email merges with Excel and Word. You can do a lot of different things with Excel, and you can upload them into a database later. So if you don't have a database, start now and make sure that you're working your database and adding almost clients, anybody to it that you talk to, so that you're staying in touch with those people. But the more people that trust you, know you, and think of you when they are ready to buy or sell equals more money you will make. So make sure to do an inventory of your database and how that's working for you. Here's some more areas that I think would be good to focus on. So constant contact, right? This is the big debate. How much is too much? How often is too often? And some people are just gonna unsubscribe, and that's okay. But how about, here's just a bunch of ideas, right? Get an electronic database when you're ready. List everyone you know who knows you, likes you, trusts you. Don't stop until you have at least 200 households. Introduce and connect is your third step. So once you have your database, you should be introducing and connecting regularly with them. And one way is you could send a birthday card to them each year. You could send quarterly customer appreciation events. You can send a monthly recipe card. You can have calendars, newsletters. There's Boomerang. There's so many things, right? But what's the best one? The one you use, right? So don't try to find the very best thing. do something to connect with them, right? There's so many options. Sometimes it's almost overwhelming, but the one that you do is going to be the best one for you. Now, I love movie nights. I get overwhelmed in big events where I feel like I have to walk around and talk to people and I can't really connect with. I'm better one-on-one. But movie nights are fun because I can deliver all my tickets, deliver all the things, and then everybody can come and enjoy the movie, and I feel like I'm not annoying them. And they can actually come and it's something they want to do. So I do like to do movie nights. My next movie is the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. It's the second Wicked movie. So if you want tickets to that, let me know. Okay, here's some ideas here. Homebuyer classes, movie nights, rent a pool, pumpkin patch, pictures with Santa. Everybody's kind of doing similar things, and you'll see a lot of like pictures with Santa in December. But it works to connect, and a lot of people want to come to those events. One thing I've noticed is a lot of brokerages have activities that you can piggyback on. So make sure you're utilizing anything that your brokerage is doing and marketing that, because that's something that they're doing to help you, and makes total sense to piggyback on that and utilize that. Again, what's the most important thing? The thing that you will do. So do something to connect and interact with people. Introduce and connect. Let me just kind of go into this a little bit deeper. Put a plan in place. Think of, for example, week 1, mail out a letter and a business cards to your first group. You've got, let's say you have 200 people in your database. You want to connect with them. It's always nice to have a reason to call, right? A reason you're reaching out. Hey, did you get my letter in the mail? I just wanted to make sure, catch up with you, let you know that I'm a real estate agent and I'm here to help you. If you have a movie event, or if you're piggybacking on somebody else's movie event, that could be a reason to reach out. I've got some tickets. I'd love to see you at this event. Talk about them as much as you, or more than you talk about you. Ask them about their family. What are they doing? What are their dreams? Talk about them more than you talk about you, because once you tell them you're a real estate agent, they know why you're calling, right? It's like when I take somebody out to lunch and I'm a lender and they're a real estate agent, they know why I'm taking them out to lunch. I don't have to go over and over it, right? I want to connect with them and see if we would be a good fit to work together, if our personalities match. And so I want to get to know them, because the people that I work with, I want to know about them, what they like. Okay, so this first week we're mailing out a letter. It could be as simple as, hi, I want to let you know that I'm a realtor with ABC Realty. If you or anyone you know is looking to buy or sell, please think of me. And have a cute picture of yourself on there, right? You can put some cards in there. And then week 2, you're calling that group, and you could split it up into different amounts so that you have 20 people or 10 people each week that you're mailing to, and 10 people each week that you're connecting with, so that you get through your list every 6 months, or however often you decide is the right amount of connections. With your farms, you get, a lot of people have it be their neighborhood. So John's going around his neighborhood, and that's kind of his farm, and he's dropping off, and he's adding 500 homes. Now he's doing 1,000, right? But this farm is the place where you are trying to connect with people. He's dropping off CMAs, talking to them about information. Make sure that it's information that's good. I've seen people send out emails that tell what's going on in the area, like things that they could do with families, or like, and I've been reading it and loving it. She sends it to me too, and it's things I've lived here for 20 years and I've never done. So, she's found these really fun things to do that it's valuable for me when I read through it, right? And I look forward to it. Okay, so drop-offs. One agent that I know, she just took by a Coke to all her neighbors and asked them if they would do a review on social media for her, right? There's lots of different things you can do, and you could Google it, right? AI is so helpful. There's no shortage of things that you could try and do, but pick something to do. Professionals. So add to your database with a list of professionals. So we've got all the people who know you, like you, trust you. We've got your farm that you can add into your database, and then professionals, financial planners, really great connection, CPAs, they're going to be doing taxes and people are going to need tax write-offs and things. Maybe they want to buy another house as a tax write-off or a second home or investment property. Financial planners, same thing. So they're going to know people who can. Builders, another really good connection. I have a love-hate relationship with builders. We need them to build houses, and I can't compete with their preferred lenders sometimes. So it's frustrating, but at the same time, I want people in houses no matter how they get in houses, right? Because what's going to happen to somebody who has a house versus who is renting? Their net worth goes up about $400,000 owning versus renting. That's huge. It's going to make a huge difference in people's lives if they can figure out a way to own a home versus continuing to rent. Subcontractors, title officers, chiropractors, massage therapists, hairdressers. There's lots of different ones, and you could have a monthly rotation where you drop something off to their office, drop some cards off or a little flyer about real estate. Okay, past clients, current clients, almost clients, and prospects. Don't forget your almost clients. If they almost bought with you and then they decided not to, stay in touch with them. Past clients, how often do people usually buy and sell a house? More often than you think, right? When I started in this business, I'm like, about every 4 to 7 years or something, right? So just because they bought one house with you doesn't mean that they're not going to buy another one. So stay in touch with them. Anniversaries, I've seen people send out documents for house anniversaries, birthdays, and I'd recommend trying to, on the birthdays, if you're going to do the birthdays, try to do something a little different. Maybe a text with a cute meme or something, right? Something a little bit different than just posting on their page on Facebook. January settlement papers. I try to send these out every January to my clients so that they have all the papers they need for taxes. And then invite them to your appreciation. Okay, social media. What are a few rules? Now, John, I'm going to have you correct me if I'm wrong with your fancy lady. So, friend everyone you can. Add additional friends every week, anyone you meet. So when I think of this, like, I don't just like think, in my mind, you're not just going on and friending everybody that ever pops up on your feed, but like for you guys, you're friending people that you meet. Anybody you meet, you would want to friend them on social media, because if John's posting videos, then he wants his friends to see them, right? And he's probably more likely to see them if you're friends with them. So friending people, if you meet somebody, add them to your social media. This is one that I like to limit myself to about 20 minutes, liking and commenting. If you're not commenting, then the algorithms don't work the same way. So comment on other people's posts and the people that you want to see that. 1 to 2 business posts per week, but remember the 80-20 rule. 80% of your posts need to be interesting, personal, non-business. So you don't want all of your business posts. You want to have some personal stuff mixed in there. And that's the hardest part for me. So I can come up with a lending post, but posting my own personal stuff online is really hard for me. 2 market updates a month. So John showed us what he just put down. So he's working on like updates, what's going on with the market, putting something that would be useful content for people who are in the business of buying a home. And then have a professional page, and so that anybody searching can see that you're a professional. Anything you post on business goes to both your business and social media feeds. John, anything you want to add about social media that you're trying to do?
No, I think it's having kind of the serve not sell mentality, where you're not just always ramming, hey, I'm in real estate, let me help you sell your house. You're sharing really good quality content. I will go like Paul's place over in Pleasant Grove, right? The best sandwich place in Utah. So we went in there and shot a video with the guy because when we walk into that, we actually shot it. He calls out our name and he knows exactly what our order is right when we walk in.
Oh, that's cool.
So where do you find a place like that? So we put little community places on on our videos. We go and kind of shoot home tours in a fun way, more not just people want to see houses, but I was a drummer and musician, so I tell tour stories while I walk through a house instead
Oh,
of just
fun.
in here. There's a bathroom and a toilet, and then
Yeah.
yeah, but it's really about consistency, right? My goal now, I was trying to do one video a day, but now I'm trying to get up to 3 a day, and
Wow.
now I'm just starting a TikTok, so I'm trying to do 3 on TikTok, 3 on Instagram, 3 on Facebook, and some of those
Wow.
are the same video, just ported 3
Sure.
times.
Sure.
But really, it's about people seeing you, and there's that, if you've heard of the parasocial relationship, even though they don't comment, even they don't say anything. When I look at like one video and I got 10 views, I can't. How long does it take me to make 10 calls? Right? That's 10 people that saw me, where I would have to spend 30 or 40 minutes talking to 10 people individually.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, it's just the consistency of being out there, even though they're not commenting. I think the average time for people to make a decision now is 14 months before they make a
Wow.
jump. And then yeah, so and getting in front of people now is about 24 times now. It used to be around 7, but now it's 22 to 24 times before they even will click on it.
Wow.
So it's just getting harder and harder. So being really consistent, doing exactly everything you said, and I actually upload my database into, there's some tricks I've learned I upload my entire database into the Facebook backend. So when I run an ad, all of my people in my database see my ads, but
Oh,
I don't
that's
ram it down
cool.
their throat, and I can dictate how often they see it. So I say maybe every 3 days you'll see my ad instead of every day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's just learning those little things that are happening with Facebook, and actually I've learned some interesting things about TikTok. Is just the awesomest thing. It's the Wild West. Commenting, like, it's actually, TikTok has become the more positive place. Instagram and Facebook are very vile and hatred. TikTok is super positive. There are some arguments that go, but I go on there when someone makes a comment. If there's a viral video about real estate, I'll go in and find a comment, and then I'll respond with a video, and that boosts my algorithm. That boosts me to a higher level.
Hmm.
And those things are now being posted on Google too. So it helps you show up in Google rankings, which I was like, I had no idea that was happening. So yeah, there's just a lot of little stuff to do that it's just a cool world where you can reach a lot of people with, and I think the other little trick I learned was you don't have to come up with content. I'm just more of a document. I document what I do every day. It may not be interesting to everybody, but like I said, you don't need to appeal to everyone. So I just make it, hey, this is what I'm doing. And if I see something that, just had a stupid kid client that told him not to buy a car, and I told him not to put $1,000 on a credit card, and he did both. So I made a video about it, those dumb things. So
Yeah. Yeah. I
it's just
appreciate
been
that.
fun.
One of the things that you said that I really liked was you said you're a musician, and so you try to kind of do something with that when you're walking through a house. I really love the idea of like making things feel comfortable. So we've argued in our office a lot about like, okay, my boss says do this, and I say, okay, I do exactly what he says, and everybody's like, well, why are you getting so many deals? And I'm like, I just do what he says, and they're like, you're a liar. Okay, well, I'm not, but I do kind of like make it so that it feels comfortable and genuine to me. And so I love that idea, something that you really like. You're a musician and you take that and you utilize that to be able to help you and feel genuine when you're making your videos. So that's great. Appreciate your comments. Okay, anybody else have any ideas with social media that they want to share? We're getting really close to the end, you guys. Okay, you could have as many as 143 touches per year with every person in your database, right? If you have 2 social media posts a week, if you have 2 marketplace updates per month, monthly recipe card, 4 quarterly appreciation events, each event sent to each client 1 social media post, like 12 cool holiday cards that you send, 4 handwritten cards a year, 1 birthday wish, house anniversary. So there are a lot of ways that you can have lots of touches with people without it being the exact same kind of touch, which obviously would get a little overwhelming. Kind of like John was saying, like I can make it so they only see me every 3rd day, not every single day. So whatever, I mean, you have to figure out how much is too much, and everybody has a different number. Think about real quick before we end, what are your high value activities and what are your low value activities? I heard John say his daughter can edit his videos. If that's not his best use of his time, then he finds somebody else to do that. And that's kind of what you want to do. Analyze your day. Think about, what your hourly rate is. If you want to be earning $250 a year, your hourly rate is $125 an hour. And so what can you do? What can you outsource so that your time is better spent doing the things like finding clients and making sure that those clients are happy? And what are your high value versus your low value activities? What can you take off your plate so that you have more time to do those high value activities? What things can I delegate that aren't worth my hourly wage? So think about that a little bit. Momentum. I wanted to talk a little bit about this. So once you start doing your marketing, be careful not to stop, because what happens with marketing, think about it like an escalator. If you're walking up a downward escalator, if you keep walking, you're going to be okay, right? If you keep going, if you keep your momentum up, what happens if you stop marketing? You're going to just go down, right? And so that thing that I was talking about before, somebody who gets busy and has lots of deals and then they quit marketing, they're going to, all of the momentum that they've made to get up to that point of having all those deals disappears, and they've got to start over and they've got to run really hard to get going. But once you get to a certain point, if you keep going, it's not as hard. It's harder to get up to the next level, but it's not as hard to stay at that level. So be careful with your marketing. Keep the momentum going. Once you get the momentum going and you're getting deals coming in, keep marketing. Don't stop. Continuously marketing no matter what. Always building your business. Power every day. Answer your phone and return calls quickly. Daily sharpening the saw, be the expert. Planning, constantly monitoring your work, tweaking and improving. Okay. You talked a lot about sharpening your saw. I think we're pretty close, you guys. Massive focus action, we talked about that. Distractions, there's lots of distractions in life. The secret is learning how to manage those distractions and manage instead of letting them manage you. I talked about like fires on files and how much time that takes. So being able to not have those is helpful. Give yourself accurate time to let your systems work. Once you start something new, let's say you're going to start something brand new and you're going to start really pushing it, give yourself a little time to see the results. Okay. When you really start marketing, if you haven't been for a while, you're going to see those results in 3 to 6 months usually. So don't feel like that what you're doing isn't working just because you haven't quite seen the results yet. Same thing when you start working out. If you haven't been for a while, you're not even going to see any results for a little while. Okay, let's do our third keyword. And then I'll do the fourth and fifth in like 5 minutes. Okay, third keyword, improve. Third keyword is improve. Okay, we talked about this. What gets measured gets done. Make sure you're measuring things that are new, like trying to figure out where your leads are coming from, what's working, what's not, so you can spend more time, and then don't quit. Okay, it's better to be consistent than it is to be perfect. Nobody's perfect, right? So be consistent. And then just a reminder, failure is not about the outcome. Failure is not trying. It's good to quit many times, right? Sometimes it's more important what you say no to. So if you're saying no to something that's not working or no to something that's taking valuable time away from something better, it's okay to say no. Fail often, fail fast, fail forward. And, it's okay to realize you can't do it all. Just like John was saying, it's okay to realize that you're not going to please everyone, right? That's not our goal. Our goal is 3 people every month that want to do a deal with us. So there are reasons why agents fail, and we've seen that before. None of you are going to fail. Everybody's going to be able to do all the things that they want to do and live the dream life that they want to, and I want everybody to be as successful as possible. So TGIF, so glad it's Friday. I hope you guys have some showings and things you're doing this weekend. I know you're busy. Remember that I answer my calls on the weekend and on the evenings when you guys are the busiest. If there's somebody who needs to be pre-approved, I would love to help you. For credit today, you're going to have to put your 4 out of the 5 keywords in. I put this back on so you can scan it and enter it. We're done now. I'm going to give the last 2 words. So the 4th word is let's put mindset. Mindset for our 4th word. And then the final word is Friday. I love Fridays. Friday. Hey, I'm going to stay on for a little bit longer. If you guys have any questions that you want answered, please let me know. I hope you enjoyed the class and learned something. If anyone wants to share with me their takeaways and what they're going to do, I would love to hear that. If you don't, you're free to go. But if there's something that you really took away that you're going to work on and you want to share it with me, I'm happy to stay and listen, or I'm happy to wait and have any questions answered. So I'll stay on for a little while so that you can make sure you get all your keywords entered and sent. And then we'll make sure that we get these 3 elective credits banked for you. Enjoy your weekend. Thanks for coming. Thanks, Tammy. If you email me, just put your license number in there, please, with your keywords, so we don't have to look it up. Makes it a little bit easier.
Hey, Edie, are you there?
Yeah. Hi, Melanie.
Hey, I have tried to do this on my phone and I am not a computer anything. So I missed the second word. I was on a phone call with my husband's doctor and everything else I heard. So I'll send you the 4 words. What do I have to do on the scanned barcode?
So if you want to scan it, then you just enter it and the 4 words are there, or you can just email me the 4 words and just put your license number in there, and that'll be the same thing.
Okay, then that's what I'll do. I am taking him to another appointment. I never planned. I thought this was 2 hours and core, so it's worked. You did a great job, and I will do that as soon as I get him back from the doctors. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much. It's nice to hear from you. I'm glad you're doing well.
Thanks, Melanie.
Take care. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye. Okay, enjoy your weekend. Thanks for coming.